All right, the first week of the NFL season has officially wrapped up. It was a very exciting one, and today I have my takeaways from week one of the season. Usually this video will be out on Tuesday night, the day after Monday Night Football, and then the predictions will be out Wednesday night, but we're a day late, so we'll have the takeaways of week one tonight, and then the predictions for week two coming tomorrow afternoon before the Thursday Night Football game, which is going to be very fun between the Chargers and Chiefs. First game on Amazon Prime, I'm pretty sure, but how these takeaways are going to work is I'm only going to have a couple, not going to be going over every single game, but we'll start it out with Thursday Night Football. Obviously, had to have one takeaway from that game. Was probably one of the most watched games of the season, as the first game of the season, of course. The Bills just destroyed the Rams really in that game. 31-10 was the final score, and the takeaway I have from that game is that the Bills are the best team in the league by far. And they really proved that even the defending champs, they have played bad. Josh Allen threw 2 interceptions. James Cook had a crucial fumble in the second quarter, maybe third, and the Bills still blew them out. And it shows that this team can have mistakes and still blow out a team. And without those mistakes, they could have beat the Rams by 40. It was 10-10 at halftime, and they outscored them 21-0 in the second half. The Bills are literally, they've got to be by far the Super Bowl favorites, and I really think they're going to be unstoppable this season. Next one's going to be coming from the Niners and Bears game, where the Bears beat the 49ers 19-10. Here's the thing about week one, though, is that you've got a ton of overreactions. See, I was going to think about putting the Packers and Vikings game in one of these takeaways here, but you remember the Packers game from last year. The Packers lost to the Saints in week one, 38-3. And they go on to the divisional NFC divisional game, which they would lose to the Niners, but they were the one seed in the NFC even after losing week one. So week one is not the end of the world, but my takeaway here, losing to the Bears, and I know it's the Bears, but if you saw the weather in Chicago at Soldier Field on Sunday, it was insane. There was a hurricane going on. The field was literally underwater. But my take was that the 49ers won't be what people think with Trey Lance. And that was my whole thing going into the season. I didn't think the Niners were going to be some 5-12 team. But by the way, I loved how the Bears won this game because as a Dolphins fan, we lost our first round pick. There's only 31 picks in this next NFL draft, 31 first round picks. And that's because ours was taken away from Stephen Ross. But now our only first round pick comes from the Niners, so this loss is going to help us. But I wasn't that high on the Niners coming into the season with Trey Lance. You kind of just handed him the team. He didn't get much play last season, just benched him the whole entire year behind Garoppolo, who got to the NFC Championship game. And now you're just giving the second-year player who hasn't played multiple years because he sat out his final year of college before he got drafted at North Dakota State from the COVID. So he hasn't played in a couple years. This game, he had some highlights, but against the Bears, I mean, Niners, I feel like, should have won this game. Again, awful weather, so you can't take much away from it. I'm not sure who they played this week. Obviously, you're always going to have some overreactions from these week one games. Next one is coming from the Bengals and Steelers game, where the Steelers somehow won 23-20. Joe Burrow, though, 4 interceptions, 5 total turnovers. Started his season off. First pass attempt of the season was a pick 6 from Minkah Fitzpatrick. And what I got from this game is that the Bengals are a fluke. Just what I saw from, like I just said, you're going to have some overreactions in week one. This is probably one of them. We're going to have to see what the Bengals do, but they did not look good this game. I do have the Bengals winning the AFC North, probably finishing 12-5, I think. So I don't think they're a fluke, but just based off of this week one game, maybe they're going to have that Super Bowl hangover this season. The Eagles beat the Lions 38-35 in a very high-scoring game, but the Lions can be sneaky good this season. I think I said in my week one predictions not to really count out Detroit in this game. I did take Philadelphia to win, so got it right there. But the Lions are set up for the future. They already have one of the best offensive lines in the league. They have DeAndre Swift as their lead running back, Amon-Ra St. Brown, who I think is going to potentially be a breakout candidate for the season. TJ Hawkinson's obviously a really solid tight end. They signed DJ Chark in free agency. And their defense obviously just used number 2 pick on Aiden Hutchinson, who was the Heisman winner last season. Or was he? No, he was the Heisman finalist last season. But and I don't know if I said, but they have a top 5 O-line as well in this league. So when they draft their QB in next year's draft, they're going to be set up for the future already. But off of this, I think the Lions can be good this season. I think that they can contend for a playoff spot. I don't think they're going to get to that level yet, but I feel like they may have to make up their mind whether they're going for a top pick for a quarterback, as this year's draft class is loaded, so there's really not going to be any moves, I feel like, in the early rounds. But then if they're good, like, if they're middle of the pack, they might end up with like a 15th spot in the draft, which it may not be where they want to be. So I'm not really sure what the Lions are going to be up to this season, but I think if they really go all in, they have a chance at potentially getting into the playoffs, especially how weak the NFC is. I think there's a chance. The Browns beat the Panthers 26-24 after Baker Mayfield went out and said that they're going to kill the Browns. So not a great reputation there, but the Panthers obviously have not figured out their QB situation. They brought in Teddy Bridgewater after Cam Newton left, gave him a ton of money, only for him to be awful. Then they traded for Sam Darnold. They traded for Baker Mayfield. None of those guys have been... I mean, Baker Mayfield we have yet to see. But obviously Sam Darnold didn't work out. Now he has that ankle injury. He's going to be out until week 4 or 5, whenever. We'll see what Mayfield can do. But losing to the Browns with Jacoby Brissett as your starter is not the way you'd want to start the season off. They have a nice young defense, but on offense, it all starts with that QB situation, and they have yet to have that even close to figured out. Next up is a game that I don't even have a takeaway from. I just want to come out and say Giants beat the Titans 21-20. That was my upset of the week, and I called it. I literally said, I don't know how, I don't know what they're going to do to beat the Titans. I just have a good feeling it's going to happen, and it happened. Saquon Barkley had an amazing game. He could potentially be back this season, but I somehow got that prediction right. Not sure how, but just going to go out and say that I called it. Next up, where the Chiefs killed the Cardinals 44-21. I took the Chiefs in this game just knowing that the Cardinals did not have DeAndre Hopkins in this game. That obviously did not matter. No Tyreek Hill, no problem for Patrick Mahomes. Threw 5 touchdown passes and showed that Travis Kelce can really be the top guy in Kansas City. I didn't really see who else was a big factor in that, whether it was, I don't know, Juju Smith-Schuster, MVS, not really sure who. I know Kelce had a big part in that game, but I think Mahomes is the best quarterback in the league. And you can argue with Rodgers, I feel like, is the only guy you can throw into that conversation, but I think Mahomes has taken that title. He shows that whoever's on his team, he can make stuff happen. What we're seeing with Rodgers is that without Devontae Adams, I'm not sure if he can really make stuff happen. We'll see what happens between the Packers and Chiefs this year, both losing their star receiver, but I think that the Chiefs may be in a better situation. Last but not least, Sunday Night Football, where the Bucks killed the Cowboys 19-3, but that was not the biggest storyline of the game. Dak Prescott's going to be out for 6 to 8 weeks, it's looking like, maybe 4 to 6, not too sure, but basically 6 weeks he's going to be out for. Big loss for the Cowboys, obviously. They said that they're not looking to bring in any other quarterback, so Cooper Rush is going to be their starter, I think, till Prescott comes back, which is going to be like the week before Thanksgiving, which is really going to suck for them. This is going to be the Cowboys' year, as it is every year, but this team, it looks like if there's any bets you still want to put in, just put it all on the Eagles right now. I don't think now any team is going to be competing in the NFC East. Cowboys and Eagles were obviously the 2 top teams, but now with Prescott going down, I really don't think there's any competition. The Cowboys are in trouble this season. But that will wrap up the Week 1 takeaways. Obviously, not reacting to every game here, but the Week 2 predictions come out tomorrow. And actually, what I forgot to say is that in each, whatever week it is takeaway video, I'm going to be giving my predictions from the previous week. So in Week 1, I went 13 and I went 12-4. The only games I missed here was the Broncos Seahawks game somehow on Monday Night Football, 49ers Bears, Panthers Browns, and I wasn't really sure whether to mark it, but the Colts and Texans tied. I guess I would put that as a loss, but also I didn't, even if I said the Texans would win, it wouldn't be a win either. So I didn't really know what to do there. But I'm going to put it as 12-4 for the week. If I took the Texans in this game to upset and they tied, I would honestly count that as a win. But since the Colts were favorite and they tied, the Texans really, they didn't maybe outplay them, but they played better than people expected. So I'm gonna go 12-4 for this week. Pretty on pretty on target if you ask me. But the week 2 predictions coming out tomorrow. Week 1 is pretty exciting. I'm really looking forward to how this next week treats us. Either way, that'll wrap up. Have a great day. Peace.